Welcome back to Munro Live, everybody. Today we have Dr. Sue O'Cray with us, and we're going to review the BMW i4 M50. Now, we received this vehicle as a press vehicle from BMW. It is in an $82,820 configuration. The base price of this vehicle is $65,900. And now, Sue, you're going to run through some of the things that made a first impression on you. So what's your first impression?
So obviously I think the biggest eye-catching aspect of this car is the color, right? It's completely unique, noticeable. I bet it's a real head turner on the road. They call this frozen Portimao blue. It is metallic maybe at the end, but stunning color, truly unique. I don't know if it's ever been in production before, but again, this is a pretty eye-catching color and definitely sets it apart from other cars on the road.
And one of the most polarizing aspects of the newer BMWs is the size of the grille. Yep. It's what most people don't like. I made a quick post on Instagram that I took this home last night, and immediately people are like, oh, it was wise of you to keep the grille out of the shot. It's kind of growing on me a little bit, but it still is large.
It's similar to the 4 Series though, right? It's sort of the same grille configuration. So it's been out there for a while. It's an iconic grille now. So it is truly going to be noticeable from the rearview mirror. When you're looking behind you, you'll know instantly that is a BMW.
And Sue pointed out something interesting. Right here we have this little patch right here. Until we get it up on the hoist and see what that sensor looks like from behind, could be radar, but I think it's probably a LiDAR unit. This vehicle does track in the road very, very well. I noticed that some vehicles I drive, it's more reactionary just to kind of keep you safe. This really keeps the vehicle in the lane, driving it last night. Another thing we noticed was the fit and finish is phenomenal. Now, this is a press vehicle. They are prepared and carefully delivered. This has quite a few miles. We noticed some chips on the hood from rocks and whatnot, but it is just amazing. And Sue, you said they've been making this off of a vestigial platform. Can you give a little history? Right.
So this is the CLA, the cluster architecture. So this is the standard BMW 3 through 8 series architecture. So to Cory's point, yeah, the fit and finish is good. I would expect it to be good. After all, this is a carryover architecture, unlike some of the, like for example, Tesla, which is a bespoke, brand new EV architecture. So they are actually taking this electric battery and all components and essentially forcing it into an ICE car. So I would expect that though that this fit and finish should be stellar, and it really is. So I can appreciate the execution. It's a great looking car, that's for sure. And I think what helps this look is, as Cory pointed out, are all the carbon fiber accents. And you said, Cory, that the price for this is approximately what?
So there's a $2,500 performance package, which includes the M-Tech package and the 20-inch wheels, and there's an additional $300 for carbon fiber accents. So I don't really know how they split that up, but we see these 20-inch M wheels. You can see the little M symbol right here. These are very, very nice. A lot of comments we've gotten from people walking by that like the wheels. The mirrors are absolutely stunning.
That's the M version of the mirrors, which I hear they're carrying over into different vehicles now.
Yeah.
So
very, very aerodynamic.
Yep.
With a very small, stanchion here. Very beautiful carbon fiber. There in the rear of the car, there is a carbon fiber spoiler. Beautiful. It's not a single size. It has a little bit of shape here. And then there's these carbon fiber inserts in the left and rear lower portion of the rear fascia. And talk about expensive. If you get in a small fender bender, somebody hits you in the left rear corner, the right rear corner, this is not going to be cheap. But if you notice, they have an ultrasonic sensor very carefully integrated into this carbon fiber piece. And this one is black. And typically you'll see them matched for color, but the ring is black on that.
And see, this is where you can see that carryover architecture. If you look at this back fascia here, it looks like those were the exhaust openings at one point, and it's sort of residual, but there's no exhaust there anymore. But there's the telltale sign. But again, nicely executed despite the fact that it's there. And as Cory was pointing out, these carbon fiber accents are carried over into the interior which we'll get to a little bit later, but you can see them in the center console and on the dash pad as well.
Now, Munro is split 50-50 on whether you like or dislike the high contrast interior. Yeah. I love it. Mr. Scott Hildreth loves it. Sue, you aren't too sold on it, but they call this cognac perforated Sensatech. Now, you can see the perforations in there in the seat, for your cooled seats, or at least ventilated. I don't know if they're actually cooled.
I think they're cooled. They're definitely heated. I don't know if they're cooled, but most likely.
But there is some beautiful carbon fiber accents around the shifter. If you get right there. And it does have a traditional shift knob. BMW-esque, it's kind of awkward. You have to press a button on the side of the shifter in order to go into reverse or drive. But once you're in reverse or drive, then you don't have to press it again to go to reverse if you're in drive or in reverse.
The one thing I thought was interesting is the door handle. Being that I've driven a ton of Teslas, I actually was expecting to, with these little lines here, to grab this and it was going to pivot towards me. Instead, it's a lift handle, which I don't see this very often in cars, but I thought that was unique. But it's just a little bit different, but I still like it.
Now, since we're doing first impressions, we've received close to a dozen press cars over the course of the last year. We've had a Mini, we've had a Hyundai, we've had Kias, we've had a Mercedes. Most of the time, people ask to drive them home, occasionally, but they usually sit. This thing is completely book solid. If you want to talk about first impressions, the look, the style, the color, people are drawn to this. And at $82,800, it's only really slightly more expensive than a fully loaded Model 3 or Model Y, and arguably cheaper than a Model S. Yes. And once more people get a chance to drive this, they'll realize that, this turns heads. Yes. And if you want to talk about first impressions, it turns heads. Now, Sue, you were talking about the size of the battery and the efficiency. What do you have to say about that?
So, it's a rather long car, true. And when if you look at the battery size compared to, for example, a Model 3, they're fairly equivalent. What's interesting is the weight of this car is about 5,000 pounds compared to a Tesla, which is about 4,000. And so you would think that would have a fairly dramatic impact on the range, and all told, maybe 30 pounds, but then you take into consideration tire size, wheel size, etc. There might be some equivalency going on after a while, but it's still extraordinarily heavy for a vehicle. But that just speaks to Tesla's consciousness for weight and their implementation of aluminum structures throughout the vehicle.
Yeah, and a Model S would be more equivalent to the size of this, and I believe the Model S's are close to 5,000 pounds. The Model 3 is a smaller vehicle, but the battery size in this at 80 kilowatt hours. Model S typically has 100 kilowatt hours, so the range is pretty poor on this. I believe it's 227. So just driving it home last night with 30% range, 35% range, I was able to drive it home, do one small errand, and barely make it back.
Did you have the air conditioner on?
I did, and I had the music up really loud.
Okay. So let's check out the interior of this vehicle. Okay, Cory, you're kind of right. I'm not a big fan of the color contrast, but I'm sure it would grow on me. I think the sports seats, standard, BMW type hug your body type of seating structure here. So I like that.
So these screens remind me of what Kia and Hyundai are doing. They have a narrow screen that goes from left to right in a large rectangle, but they're actually separated. There's a small section that's no screen right there. So it's not a contiguous screen. And you have your normal cluster, and then right here, a screen to do navigation, your telephone, Sirius XM or audio, and then there's weather. But there was also a really cool section. There's a My BMW section. And when you drive with this My BMW section on, it actually shows you how much horsepower and torque is being applied when you press the pedal.
I like the fact that it matches my car.
Yeah.
It knows exactly.
And then you have a compass and then different widgets you can add. But I found this to be really responsive, particularly when I was selecting Sirius XM. I am a Sirius XM subscriber, so I love the fact that this car came with a year of Sirius XM, a little plug for them. and here you can really easily navigate. And then I noticed there was some haptic touch buttons for volume. So you have volume here.
Okay.
And then if you want to seek, you just press right here and right here. The only thing I thought was a little awkward, it was very close to the hazard button. And, you know, if you're reaching down and there's a little bump here, your finger could fall over here to the hazard button. And then notice very few HVAC buttons. So I know that some vestigial OEMs have been leaving a lot of HVAC controls. This really has your emergency ones. So if you're confused and you get in here and it's foggy, you can do max defrost or rear defog, which is kind of interesting.
I like that's convenient. I'm used to this. A lot of people complain about the fact that HVAC or the heating cooling controls are within the screen, but I've gotten used to it as well. I think it just takes a little getting used to, but it can be very convenient. Did you try to drive this with the heads-up display?
I did. The heads-up display.
And what did you think of that?
I didn't think the heads-up display was as bright as my Yukon.
Okay.
There most likely is a way to adjust it to make it brighter, and I drive with sunglasses.
Oh.
And it requires it to be glare off your windshield. So I have to have it at the ultimate brightness to drive with my sunglasses and see the heads-up display.
Interesting. And so what does the heads-up display have on it? Does it match this?
It has your current speed and the speed limit.
Okay.
And it flashes at you if you're speeding.
Okay. Good.
And you know.
Okay.
Not that I was speeding or anything. Now, Sue, what do you think about the materials? I know we talked about the carbon fiber, but what about the IP and the steering wheel? Yeah,
I think all of this is, the leather details and the Euro stitching. I like all of this. It's definitely elegant. I do like it. The one thing I thought was just the only strange thing I thought, after you touch all these wonderful fabrics, and this feels this cheapy vinyl. I kind of was shocked. I don't know, somehow, it's for cleanability, I like it, but when you touch it, it is obviously vinyl.
I can appreciate this, because I just got a brand new vehicle, and I have a cream white headliner, and when I'm driving, mine is cloth, and when I look over, I see my wife's fingerprints all over it from whatever, the kids, food.
So I appreciate that, right? But I did notice right away, and I really did think its only purpose was for cleanability. And now that I see this interior light, this matches sort of that puddle light. It's not a puddle light, but it's sort of that light feature, which we'll show when we get out of the car. But that sort of linear breeze-looking pattern is also the sort of the puddle lights under the sills. So that's kind of interesting.
BMW and Mercedes had a long run where they had a split center console.
Oh, I don't like those as much.
And that's so that your passenger can have their elbow here and you can open half without disturbing them. Yeah. And do you know how many times I look at Lily and say, hey, I need to open that? And she's like,
I don't mind it.
So,
I don't mind it.
Not too much storage.
Not too much storage.
Transition to USB-C on all the outlets.
Right, in the back and the front, yes. And another storage space up here, right?
Yep.
And the blue details everywhere, right? The door trim with the lighting. I mean, the blue details are everywhere in the car. It's their new EV sort of highlights, which I think are really quite nicely executed. So it's a very executive looking car.
It has a normal old sunroof, which Sue, you said you want and like.
I do like sunroofs. Because I like to vent my car without having. Sometimes when you open the car, so if you open the front windows and the back windows are shut, or vice versa, sometimes you get that buffeting noise, and sometimes you just want to get the car vented super fast, hot air rises. I like to open up that sunroof, and I like to get the air out of the car quickly, and then button things back up, or just leave it open. I kind of like sunroofs. I really do. Yeah. So it stops your hair from blowing all around, which guys don't care as much about. So girls sometimes do. Yeah.
And another very German thing is a control knob here, which you can control while you're driving with your right arm. I'm sitting in the passenger, so it looks like it has a scroll, and probably you press. Yep. Yeah. It's kind of easy to understand. Oh, and you can go side to side. I know a lot of people who swear by this. Once you get used to using this, but this vehicle, you can actually reach up and touch the screen as well. So you have the best of both worlds. They've maintained this from some of their older designs. I also...
Do you like this?
Yeah.
This is really great. You know, because these cars, because they can, this is, I assume he has all the correct lane keeping, and it's really beautifully, right? It's great. So, I mean, if you're you can get more relaxed when your legs are supported here. I kind of like this extension in the seat. I really think this is a nice feature. I like this a lot. Want to try the back seat, Cory?
Yeah, let's check it out.
Let's just go check it out. And now you can see this detail feature from the sill lighting, sort of this aerodynamic swoosh that looks like the car is actually in motion even though it's sitting still. I think that is just a wonderful, cute little detail. Very sweet. So the back seat, I think I already know. I can see that this is going to be of a challenge, right? Oh, Cory, you're going to have a hard time getting in here. So I'm small, so it really doesn't matter, but you're going to be a little compressed there, aren't you?
Yeah, and my feet barely fit under the seat. I mean, I have normal size shoes, size 11.
Yeah.
The rear seat's comfortable.
It is comfortable, but your headroom, if you were just a bit taller, your headroom is going to be compromised.
Unfortunately, something that looks horrible is these ISOFIX covers for the child seat. Now, I have 3 children, and I am an expert at installing car seats now. And sometimes these are hidden real well, but you have this beautiful cognac color and even a nice cognac bolster right here. That's really, really nice. So this is even an extension beyond the seat. So when you slide in, you rub against that. But then they have this off-color black ISOFIX cover, which is kind of unfortunate. Now, sitting here, I can actually feel one if you lean back kind of hard. So oftentimes these can be hidden in the crack of the seat and you got to search for them. This makes it really easy for parents, but man, I guess most people aren't riding in the rear seat. Oh, looks like the seats actually flip forward.
Oh, I see. Oh, you can do this. I don't know why you'd ever want that, but I guess for skis, right?
Or for lumber.
Lumber, that's what you would take in your BMW, right?
This is a nice pass-through. So you can actually have the pass-through and 4 passengers. That's nice. Normally this would be integrated into one of the thirds of the seat. So you'd have a 2/3 seat. And it just shows you really how small the center seat is, because Sue and I are sitting with 1 seat ourselves, and then you have this tiny little area. There's one other thing we're going to look at here, and we're going to pop the hood and look at under the hood to see if there is a frunk and see what's underneath. So I'm going to walk around and pop that, and then we'll go around front.
Okay.
Standard hood with an old school mat for NVH. And let's see, it's fully covered.
It looks like a standard engine cover.
So you have 2 small access panels. This one would be for your coolant or your ethylene glycol. Here's for your AC service on top of what looks like a chiller. But I bet this entire thing comes off.
Where's the windshield fluid?
Over here.
Oh, there's the cover. Okay, I didn't see it on that side. Okay, good. Okay.
I like this being far outboard.
Me too.
Because having to reach in with a gallon is really inconvenient. And this really reminds me of my wife's Mercedes. They all have a double dash. So you have the normal dash, and then you have a secondary dash right here for NVH, noise, vibration, and harshness. So having that layer, that secondary layer, is great for noise abatement in the cabin. Now, I bet this pops off.
Oh, we have no frunk, right? No frunk.
Let's see. Now, with the M package, they are adding a tiny little M here. Go figure. Is that really necessary? I'd eliminate that. All right. So the first thing I notice is the bracing. So you have an aluminum shock tower, very typical for BMW mixed material bodies, primarily steel body with aluminum castings at critical junctures. And then the cross car support right here, strut brace, aluminum. And then they're kind of, I would say, it's like a trapezoid, not a triangle, up to the FEM. But the first thing I notice is high voltage lines, 1, 2, 3, 4, running throughout. sometimes we give Tesla a lot of credit for the level of integration, and this is a perfect example of a lack of integration. So BMW was dealt a really good hand with a ton of packaging space. Now, Sue, look in here and tell me what your first impression is of how they use the space.
It's very inefficient, right? But it reminds me of sort of the Mach-E too. Do you remember when the sort of this tangled web of hoses and wires? That's kind of what it looks like here. So, but there's ample space here. It's just that it's like the routing looks a little bit sloppy. Not sloppy. It's just there's a lot of extra room in here.
I know people are like, you guys, you got to lay off the Tesla narrative, but this is just what you get when you buy commercial off-the-shelf components, place them and mount them where it is best suited. Then you have to run a wild array of spaghetti lines from component to component, which drives inefficiency in not only their routing, but the fluid flow and whatnot. And the point of this episode is not to go into the thermal system of this, but it just shows you that hopefully BMW is working on a new platform that's highly integrated. Now, Sue, what else do you have to say about what you see here?
I think that if you look at the way some of these components are placed, I think if done more efficiently, as you said, they actually could have gotten a smaller, or they could have got some aspect of a frunk in here. I think if they did it properly, they could have, if they moved a few things around, and like you said, used more integrated componentry. I think they could have, I think because one of the complaints is there is no frunk in this car when most EVs do. I think if done properly, they could have gotten a frunk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. And sometimes the effort to shrink and compact your thermal system actually saves money and then allows for a frunk. So the argument that, oh, it might have been cheaper for BMW just to use all the existing space, I would beg to differ. If you put all these components from a cost perspective up against a more elegant thermal system, this might actually be more expensive. You have more length, more weight, more cost. And I think this about concludes our first impressions of this BMW i4 M50. Thank you, Sue, for adding your context here. If you're wondering where Sandy's at, he's still coming back from Italy. I think he spent up 10 days in Italy. Lots of different client visits. We have the IDRA video, which should be coming out either before or after this. And also a reminder, Munro & Associates creates these phenomenal reports off the vehicles we tear down. If you ever are interested in our reports, you can email us at sales@leandesign.com. Sue and myself monitor every single email that comes in, as well as 2 other people. So if you ever have any question for Munro & Associates, sales@leandesign.com. And once again, thanks for watching.